Hello and welcome to my final no buy video of 2021. I am so excited to be sharing with you all the information, all the data. We're doing the results video where we wrap it all up, and I'm going to share with you all the things that have unfolded throughout the year and how many things I've purchased, how many things have come into my life, how many products I used up. I've done all the math. I've created my bullet journal spread. So I've spent quite a few hours like making sure these numbers are all correct and all add up, but it is here now and I'm going to be sharing it with you. So we will be looking at also my 2020 results with my 21 results, just to sort of see the difference in how things have maybe improved or changed over the years. And it's also, I'm in a very different life context, but we'll talk about that more throughout the video. So I'm just really excited to share with you this data, and this is going to be a very data rich video. Now, if you are looking for more of that like deeper content where we talk about how it's actually affected my life and my well-being and things like that, I can talk about the benefits or sort of the things I've learned throughout the last 2 years of doing a no buy, but that for me is a very different mindset, and right now I'm just focused on the numbers. So we're going to get into all the things. So let's start in the order of how I usually do my updates, and that was with the amount of products I have used up. So I have used a total of 62 products this year, which is pretty awesome. I'm quite happy with those results. Now, last year I had used a total of 40, so I think the increase is a lot to do with, one, I discovered project panning this year, and that I found really upped my numbers, which you can see because like in February I'd used up 3 products, April 4, May 4, June 3, July 6. But then when I discovered project panning in September, I'd used up 12 products, and then October 10, and then November 11, and then December 9. So the project panning definitely got me on track to systematically use up my things and just get a lot more usage and value out of the stuff that I already have. So that was a lot of fun. So I think project panning is a part of it. I think also because I received quite a few hand-me-downs, and in the hand-me-downs I received, there was a handful of sample size things that I got through relatively quickly because they're much smaller than like full-size products. So those were all the things I used up. Now, the breakdown of that is that 6 of the used up items were like non-cosmetic. They were like some stationery items and some clothing that I just used to the point of no return, like they were really falling apart. I also had 28 of those items as hand-me-down cosmetics, so things that I received throughout the year. There was also 12 of the cosmetic items that came from my school toiletries, and I will give more context to that when we get to that section of the video. And then 16 were other cosmetic-y toiletry items that I had mostly purchased myself in 2020 that I slowly used up throughout 2021. So there you go. That's all the used up items. The next area is gifts and all the items that I received through gift giving that was really, really lovely. So this year I received a total of 23. Last year I received a total of 21. So I'm just really happy and fortunate to receive such nice things from my family, and most of those things came through in November, December, which is my birthday, and then Christmas. Now, out of the 23 items I received, I have finished 2 of them because they were like toiletry items. There was like a cleanser and then like some bath thing that I used up. So that means that I have 21 gift items still in my possession, which is kind of exactly the same as last year. So pretty happy with that. Now, the next area is school toiletries. So I'm going to give you a little bit of context to my life, which is also helpful to know when we get to the finances. So I am a volunteer. I have moved from Australia to the United States to attend a study program that is located on a campus that has multiple group homes for people with disabilities. So I think there's 21 or 22 group homes, and they're like life sharing homes. So basically people with disability and volunteers come together to share life and to live in an intentional way and give purpose and meaning to their life by living in a Camp Hill community. This is a sort of program that's throughout the world, and I am here in one in upstate New York. I really, really love it. So the idea is that I exchange my time so that I can do the study program. So I get the cost of my studies covered. I get health insurance covered from being here. I have a beautiful place to sleep, which is my room, and I always get good healthy food to eat. You also get some basic toiletries covered, which is what the section is that we're going to unpack and go into. And then each month you get a stipend check of $231, I think when you're in your second year. I think when you're in your first year it's less. And then you also get 117 put aside for your vacation. That you can claim more in like bulk amounts, but you do get a check each month of the 231. So I don't work for a wage or for an hourly salary or anything like that. I work here to like get the experience of being in this sort of community and being in this life, and also just to be able to do the studies alongside of it. So that's how they set up the exchange, is that you have everything you kind of need covered, so that you give 6 days of your week to the work here and supporting others, and that's the exchange, and then you get 1 day off a week. So with that said, I have received a total of 43 toiletries through this sort of school exchange program, and that's just because there's a little co-op here so you can go and get what you need. Now that is quite a few. I feel like I definitely took more than maybe, because like when I was back home last year, I purchased a total of 21 like toiletry items or like consumable items, and this year it's like way more. I haven't purchased them, but I guess it's still like I've chosen to bring those things into my life, which is the 43. And I think that's to do with like when I'm back home and the money that I don't spend just goes directly into my savings. I'm really focused on only getting the essentials, but because I'm here, my life is a little bit different. I have the ability to get those things and it doesn't affect, I guess, my personal check. Then I have sort of, it's splurged in some way. I bought like foot balm and like a face scrub and a handful of things that I wouldn't necessarily buy in the real world, because I'd probably be more focused on saving money, if that makes sense. So the breakdown of all the sort of school toiletries I received is 11 of them actually weren't toiletry items. There was like a toothbrush heads, and then like a adapter, travel adapter, and a few things like that that are a little bit different that were just I got as well because of the program I'm doing. 32 of them were toiletries. So I guess technically there's been an increase of 11 compared to last year. Yes, because last year I purchased 21. Technically this year I've not purchased with my own money, but 32 of them have come into my life. So that is kind of the breakdown. With that, I decluttered one, I used up 12 of the toiletries, and I still have 19 that I'm progressively working through. So I hope that made sense. The next area is the area I've been avoiding talking about, which is the hand-me-downs. So this year was definitely the theme of the hand-me-down year and receiving a lot of those items. I have received a total of 186 hand-me-downs, which is insane. I feel very, very fortunate to have access to all those beautiful things, and I was able to get them for free. Now, in saying that, I did declutter a bunch because basically I was just taking lots of hand-me-downs because they were for free, and I just wasn't really thinking about that process of actually, do I really need them? And I kind of got to the point, I think it was like beginning of November leading up to my birthday, where I just started feeling very anxious and very overwhelmed, and then my space was just like really cluttered. So I went through and I got rid of 63 out of the 186 items. Now, let's break that down a little bit more. Out of the 186, 137 of them were cosmetic, 37 of them were clothing, and 12 of them were miscellaneous. So with the cosmetics, I decluttered 32, the ones that I felt like I couldn't use and that other people would probably get better value out of, and I gave them to some other friends in the community. I used up a total of 28, so that was just through project planning and also just general use. So that was really awesome. I still have 77 of those, and a majority of them are makeup, just because makeup does take longer to get through than skincare, but I do still have some skincare items as well, and they were all from my amazing friend Zila, and I really, really appreciate her giving me those lovely, beautiful things, and also just introducing me into the world of makeup and really discovering it and starting to have fun and playing with it because of all the lovely things that she offered to me. The next area was clothing, so I actually decluttered, out of the 37, I decluttered 25 items. I still have in my possession 12, and when I did my big declutter, I did get rid of quite a lot of hand-me-downs, but I also got rid of, I think, another 20 items that were just my personal things that I had purchased or received in previous years. So in general, I was able to reduce my clothing amount, I think, in my wardrobe down throughout this year, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then with miscellaneous, I received 12. 6 of them I decluttered because I just wasn't using them, and those were more of the art supplies because I already actually had enough art supplies for myself. And then I kept 6 of the other things that I was given. So that is the breakdown of the hand-me-downs. And because of how hand-me-down rich this year was, I have created myself a rule around only taking something if it is a genuine need and I had that need before I saw that the thing was for free, or if it's something that will truly spark joy and add value to my life. Like if it's a beautiful makeup thing, I'm definitely going to take it. If Zila ever decides to declutter more of her amazing makeup collection, I will more than happily adopt it because I am just in love with the makeup. And she also has really nice taste, and it's just so beautiful. Anyway, so I guess my relationship around hand-me-downs and why I took so much is definitely because 1, it's free. 2, I like to use things that are already in circulation or resources that already exist. I'd much rather use a hand-me-down than necessarily go and purchase and create a new resource for something. There was an exception in that, I would say, when it came to my winter coat, because I did buy that even though I'd received a hand-me-down coat, just because I felt like I needed something that kept me much more warmer and I felt much more comfortable in. So there are some exceptions to that, but that I guess is the idea, is I don't like wasting resources in terms of like the actual physical material thing, and I also don't like wasting my own money, so I try to just use hand-me-downs, or I like to shop more secondhand and things like that. So I think it's very, very tempting to take hand-me-downs. It's always something that I even struggled with last year, although last year I'd only brought in 26 hand-me-downs, so it was a lot less than what it was this year. So I'm just going to try and have more consciousness around that going forward in the coming year. But I'm also very grateful to receive those things. I don't regret taking what I did. I feel like I was able to sort of switch up my wardrobe a bit with the hand-me-downs I received. I was able to discover a whole new world of makeup, to get some amazing skincare that has really been helping me to take care and look after my skin. So it is something that I have sort of not really regrets about, but I feel like I have learned how to maybe handle myself a little better in the future when it comes to free things in that area. So those were most of the things. We've got the last area to talk about, which is, I guess, a very big indicator on how successful or not so successful my no buy actually has been. Now, I did really want to share the parts around the hand-me-downs because it has an effect, I definitely believe. I feel like it definitely has tainted my no buy year, because when you are receiving lots of lovely new things for free, you're definitely less tempted, or have less urges, I guess, to go out and shop and buy new things yourself. But let's talk about it. So, little drum roll, the grand finale, the grand amount of items I purchased with my own money throughout the year was 33 things. So I'm really happy with that. It is a reduction from last year, so I have been able to improve upon my results from last year, which makes me very, very happy. That was kind of one of my main goals, is to try and bring that number down as much as I possibly could. So last year I had purchased 58 items for the year, 79 including consumables, but I'm keeping consumables separate because that's also what's happened this year. So 58 in 2020 and 33 in 2021. So that has been really lovely to see that number drop down so much, but it's also a big contribution because of those hand-me-downs. Now, in terms of the items I purchased, I feel like 14 of those were essential purchases. So the things that I deemed essential purchases is a phone screen protector, 3 face masks when I was moving to the States and I would have to wear them on the planes, 3 basket organizers, 1 pair of shoes, Birkenstock shoes, because I wear them all the time for work. I have 1 notebook for school, 1 binder for school. I bought a new laptop this year because my one died, but that was a very essential, and I'm very grateful that I was able to make that purchase this year. Also a USB cordy thing, because Apple changed the program and apparently USBs are not good enough, so I had to get something to connect that. And then a winter coat. So those were the 14 items that I deemed as like essential purchases. I then purchased 2 makeup items that were not essential, but I did need them to be able to get a better usage out of the hand-me-downs I received. So I did buy a roll of brushes, so there was 14 individual brushes in that, and then I also bought a pencil sharpener for like eyeliner and also for lip liner. So those were 2 things. I did buy 6 other makeup items that were a complete break of my no buy. I kind of just had a breakdown. You can watch my like December video where I talk about the whole process around that, but it wasn't good. It was at the very end of my no buy. I wasn't in a good headspace, and that was really where I kind of lost control and wasn't able to uphold myself to the rules or some of the things I've learned because I was just not in a good space in myself. But it's okay. I forgive myself. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm just going to learn from it and try and move on and hope that doesn't happen next year. I did do 7 other purchases for fun. So one of them was my little Nomi here who sits with me on my desk, which look how cute it is. I mean, if you can think of a little name for this gnome, I've been trying to think of one for him or her or them. I don't know. I'm not sure gnomes really identify with a gender, but yeah, if you can think for a name for my little gnome, that would be great. Let me know it down in the comments. But one of my fun purchases with the gnome, I also got a blanket and then the 2 little wooden bowls as well that I keep here on my desk because they're so beautiful, and a couple of items like that. And then I also did buy 5 clothing items. So one of them was essential, which was my winter coat, and then I had 4 other clothing items. So that comes into my allowance category. So for the year, I gave myself an allowance to buy 6 clothing items. I used 5 out of the 6, so I still technically had 1 left over at the end of the year, but I didn't really need to use it. And I also gave myself the allowance of 3 books. I did buy 2 books out of the 3, but there's still 1 more, I guess, left over. And I said that I would get some more menstrual products, reusable menstrual products, if I found a company I wanted to support or was interested in getting them, and I just didn't really do much research, so I never ended up buying that. So that's totally fine. So out of the 33 purchases I made, I only regret 2. So one purchase that I made was in the essential category, which was sunscreen. I went for a day out to the city, but I did buy like the massive thing of sunscreen when I really could have just gotten the small travel size, especially because I didn't know the sunscreen that well or if I would really like it, and it turns out I don't like it that much, but I have this massive bottle of sunscreen. However, when I was in the store, I distinctly remember being like, oh no, I have to get the bigger bottle because like per mil, how much it is per mil is much cheaper when you buy it in bulk rather than when you buy the tiny travel size. But anyway, regardless, I regret that. I should have just gotten the small one. And it's not that I regret the book. I regret like buying 1 book, like I kind of do, but it's more just because I've decluttered it. I mean, I got it, I did read it a little bit, but it wasn't like as inspiring as maybe as I hoped it would be. It was like a book of Rumi poems. I don't know. So I liked it. It was nice for like a month or 2 I read it, but then it just sat there, so I did pass it on to someone else. But yeah, I mean, like it's not that big of a regret, but in general, the other 31 items that I purchased, I'm very happy with. I'm still getting a lot of use out of, and I really do like them. So let's just quickly talk about the rules. So I have underwear, lingerie, swimmers, accessories, bags, and pouches. I purchased 0 in this category. Shoes, like I said, I purchased 1 pair, which was my Birkenstocks. I have jewellery. I did buy 1 pair of earrings before leaving Australia, of my absolute favourite earrings, just to have as a backup pair, which is definitely not necessary, but it brings me a lot of joy and I really like them. So I did break my no buy in the jewelry category. Bedding, I did buy 1 blanket. Decor, appliances, kitchenware, and furniture, I purchased 0, so big success in all those areas. Puzzles and craft supplies and games, I purchased 0, so good success there as well. Tech, I did kind of not fail. I wouldn't even say I broke that area because it was my laptop and the USB thing, and for me those were like essential purchases. It was a financially smart decision to buy something new rather than at that point invest in my old laptop. So it's not, I wouldn't consider it a break because it was really essential at the time. And I've gotten so much use out of it. I use it for all my studies and everything, so that's all good. And then the next area was stationery. I did buy 2 stationery items, but once again, I don't consider it a break because it was for school, so a notebook and my binder organizer thing to keep all my paperwork together. And then I did get like 3 souvenirs, so I did break that because these were not necessary. The little Nomi and his bowl, but I don't know. It's just so cute. I don't even mind. So that brings me a lot of joy, so I'm not worried that it was a rule break technically. Sports equipment, alcohol, pleasure products, and plants, I purchased 0 in that category, so that is good good improvement. I think last year I did buy quite a few pleasure products, but this year I didn't feel the need to. Experimental toiletries. Now, this is a hard one. I didn't purchase any experimental toiletries with my own finances. However, through the school toiletry program, I did get some things that, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily get if it was my own money, and in some way were experimental, like the face scrub and like the foot balm, because they're not my essentials that I know I go back to every time. They were from different brands and stuff like that. So like in some way I broke that, but not technically in terms of my finances and my own spending, just because of this strange little setup that I have at the moment. The next area was makeup. So this area, I really broke my no buy. This was like the biggest break and the biggest mess up for the year, but I'm not perfect, it is what it is, and I still feel like it's a successful year no matter about this area. So I have 2 highlighters that I got, 1 palette, 3 brushes, and then the pencil sharpener and the roller brushes. So I feel like those 2 I'm not so worried about. I don't feel like it really broke those because they were very conscious intentional purchases. The 2 highlighters, the palette, and the 3 brushes was just my breakdown in TJ Maxx at like 10:30 at night. So that was definitely a break. Sugar I had as a no buy rule. I can't really say that I stuck to that at all. I feel like I just kind of completely forgot that that was a part of my no buy rules. It's something I would like to do in the future. I think that's definitely one of my future goals. The next area is miscellaneous. So I bought 1 phone screen, 3 face masks, 3 basket organizer things, and the sunscreen. That was the full breakdown of all the things and like where I did and didn't stick to my rules completely. But in general, I'm also just so happy with how this year's gone and all the progress I've made. So I don't know. I feel really good about it. Now, I did like a percentage breakdown. So before I ever attempted a no buy challenge, I was looking at, let me find the chart here. I was looking at roughly bringing in 188 items per year, and these were not including consumables. So in 2020, I was able to reduce that down to 58. And then this year I brought it even further down to 33, which meant I got a deduction of 82%. So I've been able to decrease the amount of things I'm physically buying, like purchases I'm making and spending my money on, by 82%, which is incredible. Now, you do have to keep in mind that I have been able to receive some amazing hand-me-downs, but I still feel like there's a lot of hard work that has gone in there, and I'm definitely very proud and yeah, just happy that that has been able to happen through doing this challenge. So let's move on to the finances. So this was my spread. I think I'll just quickly show it to you for anyone who's interested. There's all the numbers. That's how I sort of summed it up for myself so I could get a real clear overview of the year. And now we're going on to the money page. So January and February, I was still living back home in Australia, working my sort of more normal conventional job. I was self-employed, being someone who does disability support work. I had to pay my own taxes, superannuation, didn't get holiday pay or sick leave and a bunch of things. So I did get paid quite generously because of the risk of working independently and not going through a third party that would cover those things, but at the same time take a cut of my pay for doing all that office overhead work. So I made a total of $10,840.44 in the months of January and February, and this is in AUD, so Australian currency. I spent a total of $2,965.19. That gives me a grand savings of $7,875.25. So that was those 2 months, and in that time I'd slowly started to wrap up my work and work a little bit less. You can watch my 2020 video. It is kind of crazy the amount of income I was bringing in, and now I'm doing volunteer work, which we'll talk about those finances in a few minutes. It's totally different. But anyway, the breakdown of everything I spent in those 2 months was gas. I spent $348.68. Groceries, I spent $349.21. Eating out, I spent $320.77. Things, I spent $144. My cat, I spent $47 on her. Bills, I spent $866. Eating out with my client was $93.13, and miscellaneous was $796.40. So those were my kind of expenses for like living a bit more of a normal life where things aren't just sort of like covered, and you know, I don't even know how much electricity I guess costs and all these things and bills and stuff like that, because it's just covered in the program I'm doing. The miscellaneous section, I know that's very high, but I had to have a COVID test before getting on a flight. I had to renew my driver's license. There was just some really random expenses that came up before moving that I had to cover there. I did spend quite a bit on eating out because it was like my last time seeing everyone before I left, so that's why that was quite high. I would try and usually bring that down, but that's pretty cool. I was able to save, you know, just under 8,000 Australian dollars at the very beginning of the year, which is amazing. That went into my savings. And now we're going to talk about the finances that is what is like directly a consequence of like the work and the environment I'm currently living in. So you already have the context. I make $231 each month. $117 gets saved up that I can claim in bulk as my vacation each month. So my total income from March through to December through doing this volunteer program was a total of $4,851.51. So that's the total of everything I made. Most of that is through my stipend check, through my vacation money. I did receive $1,000 in support of me having to buy a new laptop, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And I also got some birthday money from my grandma. I got $155 Thanksgiving bonus from the place where I'm working, and I think, I did like a photo shoot for someone. They gave me a little bit of money, and I also, as in I photographed them. I wasn't the one in front of the camera. It's only with YouTube I feel comfortable with that. And then I also sold like a pair of shoes or something, like some really random extra incomey things. So that was the total of what I made. I spent a total of $3,489.73. So that gives me a savings of $1,361.78, which is still pretty impressive to be able to save on such a small amount of income. I mean, in saying that, of course, all the basics are covered, but I still have a day off once a week. I like to go eat out. I like to do things. So that is also really a big motivation for me trying to stick to a no-buy year, because no matter how much I have in savings, I never really want to touch that unless it's a true need. I always want to live within my means as much as possible. So that's why I really consciously try and do that with my finances. Now, I haven't taken vacation this year, so that $1,361 is actually money I want to use to take a vacation at some point, because I haven't done that, and that's kind of what that money has also been there to save for. So I'm hoping, you know, I will take my vacation. I will probably spend almost all of that, and that's okay by me as long as I can sit within my means and I'm not spending into my savings or anything. I'm so fortunate to be even able to have savings, but it is really there for emergencies. If I need to fly back home to Australia to support my dad, if I need to whatever, take care of a family member, whatever I need to do, it's to allow me also that once I finish my studies, I can go and do things. I can leave this country, because like you've seen, I don't make enough that, you know, I can even necessarily save up for a plane ticket. So it's really important that I do have that little bit of buffer there that I have saved in my previous year of doing this challenge. So anyway, the breakdown of everything I have spent is, so I spent a total of $3,489.73. $579 of that was on eating out, which is quite a bit, but at the same time, it's one of my favorite things to do with my friends, to do with my partner. We go out and we eat, and it's kind of like one of the things I really look forward to on my day off, especially because I cook in my house. So it's so nice to go out and like have other people cook for me. So I really enjoy that. Experiences, I spent $109.50, and most of that was actually transport. So getting the train to New York City, hiring bikes and riding around New York City. So that's where that money went. I did spend $95 on gifts for other people. Things, I spent a total of $2,706.73. So that's where the majority of my money went. And actually the majority of it was for my laptop. I didn't really, you know, I did buy quite a few other things, but in general, all the finances went towards the laptop. So the laptop itself was $2,135.16. So if I take that away from the grand amount of how much I've spent on all the things, I have $571.57. So that's how much that was spent on everything else, basically. I did buy 2 dresses and the earrings, I think, in Australia, and the face masks, but everything else I bought here when in the United States. Oh, and that's what I mean, that's probably clear. But basically, I've just been talking in US dollars. So January, February was Australian, the rest of the year was in US dollars. So that is my full money wrap up and everything that I have to share with you in terms of the data and statistics. I hope you found it helpful in some way. I will leave all of my no buy, low buy videos either linked in the description box, in the cards up above. So if you are interested in doing this challenge or learning more about it, the resources are there for you. And yeah, I hope you found this video helpful in some way, and I'll see you next time. Bye!